You've been sold a lie, a big one. Forget everything you've heard about healthy competition or striving to be the best. That's a trap, a costly distraction. Picture it, the frantic stock market floor, the exhausted office worker grinding 80 hours a week, desperately chasing someone else's success. That's not ambition, it's a cage. Here's the brutal truth. If your business model involves copying someone else, you're not just struggling, you're already dying. If you are competing, you are losing. Imagine opening a coffee shop in New York. You work 80 hours a week only to realize your profit margin is 2% because you're battling Starbucks, Dunkin', and every independent joint on the block. That isn't a dream, it's a cage. It's a side hustle that suffocates your life, just like relentless office politics erodes your soul. This isn't success, it's a slow burn. This season, we're cracking open Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. It shatters the myth of competition. We'll dissect his controversial premise to figure out if you're building a monopoly or just a tragedy. Are you creating something truly new, or just fighting for scraps in an old market? If this hits home for you, drop a like.
In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you why being better than your competition is actually the fastest way to go bankrupt.
The bleeding neck economy. You're driving to work, probably stuck in traffic, listening to another podcast, trying to make sense of your career, your side hustle, or that impossible client. Good, because today we're going to shatter one of the biggest myths holding you back. This is AudioBook Bites, where we distilled the best books into actionable insights for your commute. But nothing beats the original. Grab the book 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel if you want the full deep dive. Now let's talk about the economy's bleeding neck trap. Here's the problem. Everybody tells you to compete, work harder, be better, sharpen your skills. But Thiel argues, convincingly, that competition is for losers. He calls it the race to the bottom. Think about it. When products are identical, what's the only way to win? Price. You cut your margins, your competitor cuts theirs, then you cut deeper. It's a vicious, suicidal cycle. Think about the generic social media marketing agencies flooding LinkedIn. They undercut each other until they are working for pennies. That is the hell of competition. You're just bleeding out, slowly. Your neck is on the chopping block, and you're handing the axe to your competitors. Here's the cold, hard math of it. In an ideal, perfectly competitive market, the kind economists sometimes drool over, profits get driven down to zero. Zero. Everyone barely survives. You're trading time for money, making just enough to keep the lights on, but never enough to truly innovate, to expand, to build wealth. It's a treadmill with no finish line. Now, let's get controversial. Thiel's argument flips this on its head. He says the only way to build lasting value, to truly thrive, is to create something so unique, so indispensable, that you effectively have a temporary monopoly, not the evil price gouging kind the government regulates, but the kind where you offer something nobody else can, the kind that generates monopoly profits, not just enough to survive, but enough to fund breakthroughs, to grow, to hire the best, to really make an impact. Here's the kicker. The goal isn't to beat the guy next door. The goal is to do something he can't even understand, something that doesn't invite direct comparison because it operates on a different playing field altogether. Stop trying to improve on the existing. Stop trying to be slightly cheaper, slightly faster, slightly better at what everyone else is already doing. That's a race you can't win. That's a race that leaves your neck bleeding. So, here's your actionable takeaway for today. Audit your career, your business, your side hustle. Honestly, Are you unique or are you just slightly cheaper? Are you offering something genuinely different or are you just incrementally better at what thousands of others are already doing? If you're stuck in that slightly cheaper trap, you're in the bleeding neck economy, and it's not sustainable. If this hits home for you, drop a like. So if we don't compete, what do we do? The answer lies in a strategy Thiel calls the niche monopoly, and it contradicts everything you learned in business school.
The $100 billion mistake. You fantasize about hitting it big, right? You picture yourself disrupting an entire industry. Maybe you'll snag a tiny slice, say just 1% of a multi-billion-dollar market. Sounds smart. Sounds ambitious. It's actually the $100 billion mistake. This isn't about playing small. This is about playing smart. The brutal truth, which this book absolutely drills into your skull, is that chasing 1% of a huge market is a death sentence for most startups. You're inviting a crushing defeat. Think about it. That 1% means you're directly competing with the giants, the established players with bottomless war chests. They'll steamroll you before you even get traction. Here's the radical shift. Stop thinking about getting 1% of a massive market. Start obsessing over getting 100% of a tiny, overlooked market. I know. It sounds counterintuitive, especially with all the go big or go home noise out there. But this strategy isn't about staying small. It's about igniting a monopoly that scales. Let's hit the replay button on a classic. PayPal. Remember how they started? They didn't declare war on Visa and MasterCard. They didn't even try to capture a sliver of the global payments industry. That would have been suicidal. Instead, they focused on a specific, super niche problem, helping eBay power sellers, the pros moving serious volume, exchange cash directly. These were people facing a specific pain point, moving money quickly and securely within that distinct ecosystem. PayPal wasn't just one option for them, it became the option. They didn't just aim for 1% of the payment market, they went for 100% of the eBay power seller payment market. That's a vital distinction. They dominated that micro niche. This is the niche monopoly roadmap. If you launch a dating app for everyone, you die. Seriously, you get lost in the noise. If you launch a dating app for divorced accountants in Chicago, you might just build a monopoly that scales. It sounds absurd, but that specificity unlocks something powerful. You become the undisputed king or queen of that hill. This is what the book calls the concentric circle strategy. You don't try to boil the ocean. You pick a puddle, drain it, own it. Then, and only then, do you expand outwards. Once PayPal had perfected their solution for eBay power sellers, they had a proven model, a customer base, and a reputation. Then they could look at other online transactions. Then they could dream bigger. That initial tight focus gave them the foundation, the capital, and the battle-tested system to eventually challenge the big guys. Here's the kicker, and honestly, the author's advice here is a bit extreme, but there's a massive nugget of truth. If you have competition in your startup phase, your market is probably too big. Think about that for a second. If you're starting out, barely keeping your side hustle alive amidst inflation and office politics, and you've already got 5 competitors doing almost the exact same thing, you're spreading yourself too thin. You're in a race to the bottom before you even start. The goal isn't just to find a niche. The goal is to find a niche so precise, so underserved that you face almost no competition. You become the default, the only choice for that specific group. You carve out your own little kingdom. This allows you to learn, to perfect your product, and to build an unshakable base before anyone else even notices what you're doing. If this hits home for you, drop a like, because this isn't just business advice, it's survival strategy in a hyper-competitive world. Stop fighting unwinnable battles. Start owning your territory. But finding a niche isn't enough. You need to pass a 7-point stress test. If you fail question number 5, your business is already dead. The 7 questions that kill zombie startups. You've been burning midnight oil, right? chasing that next big thing, that side hustle that blows up, or the brilliant idea that shatters industry norms. We all fantasize about it, but here's the brutal truth. Most of those brilliant ideas, they're zombie startups. They limp along, consuming your time and cash, never truly alive, never truly dead. This section, The 7 Questions That Kill Zombie Startups, is your critical filter for new ideas. It's tough. It's from Peter Thiel's playbook, but honestly, Thiel's lens can feel a bit extreme, like he demands you invent warp speed. But strip away the Silicon Valley hyperbole, and these questions expose fundamental cracks in any business idea you're nursing. This isn't about teaching, it's about equipping you with a pragmatic shield. So, let's rapid fire through these 7 questions. Ask yourself for your idea. 1. The engineering question. Can you create breakthrough technology, not just incremental improvement? You're not just building a better mousetrap, you're building a teleportation device for mice. 2. The timing question. Is now the right time to start this specific business? The world needs to be ready. 3. The monopoly question. Are you starting with a big share of a small market? You want to dominate a niche, not fight giants. 4. The people question. Do you have the right team to execute this vision? Talent isn't enough. Synergy matters. 5. The distribution question. Do you have a way to not just build, but deliver and sell your product? This is where dreams often collapse. 6. The durability question. Will your market position be defensible in 10-20 years? Can you sustain your edge? 7. The secret question. Have you identified a unique opportunity others don't see? What hidden truth do you know? Now, 2 of these questions crush more startups than any others. Let's really dig in. First, distribution. This is the absolute kicker for entrepreneurs. Most engineers, most product people, they think, if I build it, they will come. This is a fantasy that rots incredible software on GitHub, while inferior products with relentless sales teams, like Salesforce, completely dominates the world. It's not just tech. Think about your side hustle. You bake the most delicious cookies, right? But if nobody knows you exist, if you can't get those cookies into people's hands through social media, local markets, even office politics at your day job, then those cookies are just for you. Here's the cold truth. The best product doesn't win if you can't sell it. Your ability to distribute, to reach and convince customers trumps everything else. You must have a clear, cost-effective path to get your brilliant thing from your hands to their hands. Don't just brainstorm the product. Brainstorm how you'll move units. How will you capture attention in a noisy world? This isn't a secondary concern. It's the primary concern. Next up, the secret question. This one unlocks true innovation. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? It's not about having a slightly better idea. It's about a contrarian insight, something you deeply understand about human behavior, technology, or the market that the mainstream dismisses or hasn't even noticed. Think about it. Most people believe you need a huge marketing budget to launch a new product. What if your secret is that organic, community-led growth is exponentially more powerful right now, if you just tap into the right niche? Everyone complains about inflation, right? What's your secret business idea that thrives in an inflationary environment, something others are too fixated on recession to see? This isn't just theory. This is where you find the asymmetrical advantages, the opportunities everyone else overlooks. You're not just solving a problem, you're revealing a hidden solution no one else dares to consider. This is where you forge an unfair advantage. Now, here's the brutal zombie warning. After you score your idea against these 7 questions, be honest. If you're scoring 4 out of 7 or less, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And that's okay for hobbies, but don't confuse them with ventures that will truly transform your world or your bank account. This filter exists to save you years of pain and wasted effort. If this analysis hits home for you, drop a like. Now, there is one question everyone gets wrong: timing. Everyone wants to be first, but Thiel says that is a trap. The first mover lie. You've been fed a lie, a big one, the first mover advantage myth. It sounds slick, right? Be the first, plant your flag, own the market. But here's the brutal truth. The first often gets absolutely crushed. They spend your money, your time, your energy to educate the market. They pioneer, they innovate, they stumble, and then somebody else swoops in. That's where the last mover advantage explodes onto the scene. Forget being first. Your goal? Be the one who delivers the final, definitive improvement to a specific market. The one who locks the gate behind them. The one who makes everyone else redundant. Think about it. Google wasn't the first search engine, not even close. Remember Alta Vista, Lycos, Ask Jeeves? Google watched, it learned, it optimized, it built a better mousetrap, and then it dominated. Same playbook with social media. Facebook, they weren't trailblazers, they observed. MySpace did the heavy lifting of teaching us to put our lives online. Facebook watched, learned, and then perfected the addiction. You want to be Facebook, not MySpace. So, here's the crucial shift in your thinking. Don't rush to be first. That's a fool's errand. Instead, strategize to be the one who slams the door shut, the one who captures the lessons learned by those brave but ultimately bleeding pioneers. You refine, you optimize, you dominate. Now, the author in this book hammers this point relentlessly. And honestly, while it feels counterintuitive, the evidence screams for the last mover. It's not about being timid, it's about being strategic. It's about leveraging the mistakes of others instead of making them yourself. Think office politics. The first one to complain often gets tagged as the problem. The one who observes the issues, gathers support, and then presents a bulletproof solution, that's the winner. If this idea, ditching the first mover mentality for last mover, hits home for you, drop a like. It truly reframes how you approach every side hustle, every new project, every career move. The bottom line is this: innovation isn't just about creating something new. It's about perfecting something needed. It's about seeing what works, what breaks, and then delivering the experience that renders all competitors obsolete. You're not looking for the initial spark. You're looking for the conflagration that burns everything else away. However, we need to address the elephant in the room. This book has some dangerous advice that could bankrupt a modern bootstrapper. When this book is wrong, you've just swallowed Peter Thiel's vision of building something entirely new, something that shatters existing markets, moving from 0 to 1. But now, let's hit the brakes, hard, because even genius needs a reality check. Thiel, he loathes iteration. He despises A/B testing. For him, a true breakthrough erupts from a single, brilliant, intelligent design. You build the perfect thing, launch it, done. Honestly, this perspective threatens the very survival of most of us. You see, the real world doesn't hand out blueprints for perfection. It slings curveballs. You're out there building, coding, creating, hustling, often on a shoestring budget. Thiel argues against iterating, but let's get real. If you are a creator, a freelancer, a side hustler, iterating is how you eat. It's how you survive the relentless grind. You refine, you pivot, you learn from every tiny misstep. You don't get one golden shot to build the perfect product, then collect billions. That's a tech titan's fantasy, not a real-world strategy for almost everyone listening. Here's the brutal truth, and it stings like a wasp. Peter Thiel is a billionaire venture capitalist. He can fund a grand, years-long secret project. He can afford to be spectacularly wrong on a dozen ventures because one colossal success pays for everything. He has runways that stretch for miles. You're likely a bootstrapper. Maybe you're juggling a demanding day job, fueling a side hustle at night, watching inflation gobble your disposable income. Your savings aren't venture capital. They are your runway, your precious buffer. You simply cannot afford to bet your entire future, your entire livelihood, on a single, untested grand plan. That's financial suicide. You just can't. Thiel champions the idea of the secret plan, building something revolutionary in stealth mode for years. No market feedback, no customer calls, just pure, unadulterated genius emerging after hidden labor. It sounds romantic. But imagine this grim scenario. You commit 2 years of your life, your energy, your focus, your precious time, all poured into building what you think the world desperately needs. You launch, heart pounding, palm sweating, and then crickets. Because you built it for you, in a vacuum, not for the actual market. You built a technological masterpiece, but it's the wrong masterpiece for the wrong problem. This path annihilates aspiring entrepreneurs. It destroys side hustles. Do not bet your life savings on a secret without rigorously testing it first. You must get feedback, early, often, brutally. Your market will tell you what they want, what problems they truly need solved. You just have to shut up and listen. So, how do we reconcile this profound conflict? Here's the auditor's adjustment. Use Thiel for vision. Use Lean Startup for execution. Thiel unlocks your mind to think monumental, to imagine true monopolies, not just incremental improvements. He demands you escape competition by creating something fundamentally unique. That's the vision. That's the soaring ambition you need. But for the execution, for actually getting there without crashing and burning, you must employ the Lean Startup methodology. You build a minimum viable product, you test it with real users, you gather crucial feedback, you iterate, you refine, you pivot when necessary. This isn't compromise. This is intelligent, pragmatic strategy. Use Thiel to ignite your ambition, to stretch your imagination beyond the mundane. Then use Lean Startup to anchor that ambition in reality, to validate your ideas with actual data, to conserve your precious resources. It's the ultimate fusion of big thinking and smart doing. Think like a billionaire, but execute like a resourceful, survival-minded bootstrapper. That's how you actually win in today's cutthroat world. If this hits home for you, drop a like. So, is 0 to 1 the Bible of innovation or a trap for the arrogant? Here is the final verdict.
Genius or dangerous? You're constantly weighing the next big move for your business, right? So here's the verdict. This book is a mindset game changer, scoring a solid 9 out of 10. It demolishes limiting beliefs. But for operational advice, especially for small businesses, a generous 4 out of 10. Honestly, it ignores the gritty reality of your balance sheet. This book is a masterclass in how to think big, but don't let it trick you into thinking you're Elon Musk when you still need to pay rent next month. It propels founders chasing venture capital and moonshots. If you're building the next tech unicorn, this blueprint elevates your vision. Now, let's get controversial. Who should skip this? Service providers, freelancers, local business owners grinding against inflation and daily office politics. Its advice often cripples your practical strategy, focusing on scaling to infinity, not just surviving Tuesday. It doesn't address your specific hustle. If this hits home for you, drop a like. The bottom line, stop competing, start creating. And if you can't be a monopoly, at least be different.